The Korath Nebula was where ships came to die. Thousands of them floated in the purple mist. Big ones, small ones. Ships from species that no longer existed. They drifted in silence, forgotten by everyone. Kang Do-hwan flew his tiny shuttle through this graveyard of metal. He had been doing this for 3 years now. Every day was the same. Wake up, eat cold rations, search for parts to sell, sleep, repeat. He was 34 years old. Once, he had been a respected engineer on Earth Station 7. He had friends. He had a future. Then the Velthari corporations decided humans were taking too many jobs. They planted evidence. They said he was a smuggler. The Galactic Commerce Union believed them without asking questions. Humans were new to the galaxy. Nobody cared what happened to them. So Do-hwan ended up here, in the place where forgotten things gathered. He thought it was fitting. The galaxy had thrown him away like garbage. Now he lived among garbage. His scanner beeped. Do-hwan looked at the screen and frowned. There was something at the edge of the graveyard. Something big. Very big. He changed course and flew toward it. As his shuttle moved through the floating wrecks, the shape became clearer. It was a ship, but unlike anything he had ever seen. It was black, so black that it seemed to eat the light around it. It stretched for 3 kilometers, covered in angles and edges that hurt his eyes if he looked too long. Do-hwan checked his database. No match. The ship belonged to no known species. He had heard stories about this vessel. Every salvager in the nebula knew the tailies. The Velthari had tried to crack it open for 60 years. They failed. The Macronis spent enough money to buy a planet. They failed too. Every species that touched this ship walked away with nothing. The galaxy had decided it. It was worthless. The Do-hwan should have flown away. He should have gone back to searching for simple parts to sell for simple money. But something pulled at him. A feeling he could not explain. The ship was calling to him. He docked his shuttle against the hull. The metal was cold under his gloves as he climbed out. He found a door that others had tried to cut through. Their marks were still visible, deep gouges that went nowhere. But as Do-hwan touched the surface, something happened. The door opened. He stood frozen for a long moment. His heart beat fast in his chest. Then he stepped inside. The corridor was dark, but lights flickered on as he walked. They followed him, turning on ahead and off behind, as if the ship was watching. The air was stale but breathable. Do-hwan kept walking, deeper and deeper into the vessel. He found the bridge after 20 minutes. It was massive, built for a crew of hundreds. Screens covered every wall, all of them dead and dark. In the center stood a single chair, facing a window that showed the nebula outside. Do-hwan sat in the chair. It fit him perfectly. A voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere. The language was strange, full of sounds that human throats could not make. But somehow, Do-hwan understood pieces of it. You compatible, waited. So long. The screens came alive. Images flashed across them. A species Do-hwan did not recognize. Tall beings made of light and shadow. They were dying. Their worlds were burning. Their enemies were winning. So they built ships. Not weapons, but seeds. Vessels designed to drift through space until they found the right minds. The right species. The right heirs. For 10,000 years, this ship had waited. Hundreds of species had tried to claim it. All of them were rejected. Their minds were wrong. Their patterns did not match. Then Do-hwan came. A single human, alone, forgotten, thrown away by the galaxy. His mind fit. I am Nari, the voice said, clearer now. I have waited 10,000 years for you, Captain. Do-hwan laughed. It was a broken sound. Captain? I'm just a salvager. I eat cold food and sleep in a shuttle smaller than a closet. I'm nobody. You are human, Nari said. Your species is young, weak, overlooked, but your minds burn bright. You adapt. You survive. You never stop trying. I was made for a species like yours. The screen showed the ship's weapons. Things that could fold space. Things that could erase matter from existence. Shields that stepped outside of time. Engines that drank starlight like water. Dowan stared at these images. His hands shook. Why me? He whispered. Because you were thrown away, Nari answered. Like me. The galaxy decided we were worthless. They were wrong. Outside, the purple nebula swirled around the ancient ship. Inside, a man who had lost everything sat in a chair made for him before his species even existed. The Dewan made his choice. Okay, Nari, he said. Let's wake you up. The ship hummed. Deep in its core, something stirred. Light spread through corridors that had been dark for millennia. Engines that had slept longer than human civilization began to warm dot in the graveyard of forgotten ships. Something was being reborn, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The first month was the hardest. The Wuhan worked 18 hours every day. He slept on the cold floor of the bridge because he was too tired to walk back to his shuttle. He ate ration bars that tasted like cardboard. He drank recycled water that smelled like metal, but he kept working. The ship was broken in 1,000 places. Conduits had cracked over 10,000 years. Circuits had burned out. Hull plates had tiny holes that leaked atmosphere. Every time Dowan fixed one problem, he found 3 more. Nari helped where she could. She guided him through the ship, showing him which systems needed attention first. Her voice became his only company in the endless dark corridors. The power coupling in Section 12 is failing, she would say. The atmospheric processor in Deck 7 needs cleaning. The navigation array has a broken relay. Dowan learned to understand her technology. It was strange at first, built on principles that human science had never discovered. But he was an engineer. He figured things out. That was what he did. In the second month, he almost died. He was working on the main reactor when a coolant line burst. Green liquid sprayed everywhere. Dowan did not know what it was, but his skin started burning where it touched. He screamed and ran, tearing off his suit as he moved. Behind him, the reactor began to overheat. Nari sealed the section and flooded it with suppression foam. Dowan lay on the floor outside, covered in chemical burns, gasping for air. You should rest, Nari said. Her voice sounded worried. Your body needs time to heal. No time, Dowan groaned. He pushed himself up. His arm shook. If I rest, the reactor explodes. If the reactor explodes, we both die. He went back in. He fixed the coolant line with burned hands that screamed in pain every time he moved them. It took 6 hours. When he finished, he collapsed and did not wake up for 2 days. In the third month, things got easier. Systems came online one by one. Light spread through the ship like blood returning to a body. The engines hummed with quiet power. The weapon systems ran their first diagnostics in 10 millennia. Nari began to change too. At first, she spoke in simple sentences. Now she made jokes. She asked questions about human culture. She laughed at things Dowan said, even when they were not meant to be funny. Why do humans drink coffee? She asked one day. Dowan was lying under a console, rewiring circuits. Because it wakes us up, but it damages your system. It raises your heart rate. It disrupts your sleep patterns. Yeah, but it tastes good. Nari was quiet for a moment. I do not understand humans. Dowan laughed. Nobody does. That's our secret weapon. While Dowan rebuilt the ship, the galaxy outside continued to move. He picked up news broadcasts on the communication array. Most of it was bad that the Thoric hegemony was expanding. They were a species of reptiles who believed the strong should rule the weak. They had big ships and bigger armies. They had already conquered 3 human colonies. Dohan watched footage of burning cities. He saw humans running from Thoric soldiers. He heard children crying for parents they would never see again. Earth had asked the Galactic Council for help. The Council said they would consider the matter. That meant no. Humans were too new, too weak, too unimportant. Nobody would save them. Dohan worked faster after that. He stopped sleeping. He pushed his body until it nearly broke. The ship responded to his desperation. Systems that should have taken months to repair came online in weeks. Then the distress signal came. It was weak, barely cutting through the nebula's interference. A human ship called the Dandelion. 400 refugees. Families fleeing the conquered colonies. They were being chased by Thoric raiders. Dohan ran to the bridge. On the screen, he could see the situation. 6 Thoric ships surrounded the Dandelion. They were not attacking yet. They were playing with their prey, taking their time. Nari, how far away are they? 40 light years. We could reach them in 7 minutes using the full drive. Is the full drive ready? A pause. It is at 40% capacity. I would not recommend using it. What about weapons? Primary systems are online, but untested. I cannot guarantee they will function. Dohan looked at the screen. The Dandelion was a small ship. Civilian transport. No weapons. No shields. 400 people inside, waiting to die. He thought about being smart. He thought about waiting until the ship was fully repaired. He thought about all the reasons why flying into battle with an untested vessel was a terrible idea. Then he thought about the children on that ship. Children who would be killed or enslaved because the galaxy decided they did not matter. He sat in the captain's chair. Nari, engage the full drive. Captain, the risks are significant. We may not survive. Those people definitely won't survive if we don't try. Do it. The ship shuddered. Space stood around them. Colors that had no names streaked past the windows. Dohan gripped his chair as reality bent and broke. Then they were there. 40 light years crossed in 7 minutes. The Thoric ships appeared on the screen, still circling the Dandelion. Dohan took a deep breath. Nari, power up the weapons. Yes, Captain. The ancient ship woke up hungry, and it had been starving for 10,000 years. The Thoric commander was named Grisek. He had destroyed 12 human ships in his career. He collected trophies from each one. A child's toy, a wedding ring, a photograph of a family that no longer existed. He kept them in a case beside his bed. Today, he was going to add more trophies to his collection. The Dandelion drifted in front of his fleet. 6 ships surrounded it like wolves around a wounded deer. Grisek was in no hurry. He liked to let his prey feel for the end. Commander, one of his officers said, we are detecting a strange reading. What kind of reading? Unknown. Space is bending. Something is coming. Grisek turned to the main screen. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality tore open like a wound, and something emerged. It was black. So black that the stars disappeared behind it. It was huge, 3 kilometers of sharp angles and impossible geometry. It moved without sound, without warning, like a nightmare given form. What is that? Grisek whispered. Nobody answered. Nobody knew. Inside the dock bay, Dohan looked at the tactical display. 6 enemy ships. All of them had their weapons pointed at the refugee vessel. He had seconds to act. Nari, target the lead ship. Fire the primary weapon. Firing. The Void Lance did not shoot a beam or projectile. It simply chose a piece of reality and erased it. One moment, Grizzic's flagship existed. The next moment, it did not. There was no explosion, no debris, no bodies floating in space. The ship was simply gone, as if it had never been. The Thorak fleet froze, their communications filled with screaming. They had never seen anything like this. Their weapons could destroy matter. This weapon removed it from existence entirely. "Target the next ship," Do-Hwan said. His voice was calm. His hands were steady. Fire. Another ship vanished. Again. A third ship disappeared. Again. A fourth. The two remaining Thorak vessels ran. They turned and fled into hyperspace as fast as their engines could carry them. Their crews would have nightmares for the rest of their lives. They would tell stories about a ghost ship crewed by demons. Nobody would believe them. Do-Hwan watched them go. Then he turned his attention to the Dandelion. "Nari, open a channel to the refugee ship." "Channel open." "This is Captain Kang Do-Hwan of the Dokebi. Thorak forces have been eliminated. Do you need assistance?" For a long moment, only static came through. Then a woman's voice answered. She sounded like she had been crying. "This is Administrator Bora of the Dandelion. We have wounded. Our engines are damaged. We thought we were going to die." "You're safe now," Do-Hwan said. "I'm coming alongside the dock. We'll get your wounded treated and figure out your engine situation." He guided the massive ship next to the tiny transport. It was like a whale swimming beside a minnow. The docking clamps engaged, and Do-Hwan walked to the airlock. When the doors opened, he found himself facing 400 pairs of eyes. The refugees had gathered in the main corridor. They stared at him in silence. He was just a man in a patched jumpsuit, thin from months of poor food with burned scars on his hands. He did not look like a hero. A little girl pushed through the crowd. She was maybe 6 years old, with messy hair and tear stains on her cheeks. She looked up at Do-Hwan with wide eyes. "Are you here to save us?" she asked. Do-Hwan knelt down to her level. "I already did, kid. What's your name?" "Yuna. That's a pretty name." "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. Her mother appeared behind her, pulling her back. The mother's name was Bora, the administrator who had answered his call. She was young, maybe 30, with the tired eyes of someone who had seen too much. "Who are you?" Bora asked. "Where did that ship come from?" "Long story," Do-Hwan said. "Short version. I found it in a junkyard. Fixed it up. Now I fly around saving people." He shrugged. "It's a living." Bora stared at him. Then she started laughing. It was the laughter of someone who had given up hope and then gotten it back. Others joined her. Soon the whole corridor was filled with the sound. Do-Hwan helped them. He treated the wounded using the Dokebi's medical bay, which could heal injuries that human medicine could not touch. He repaired their engine with parts from his shuttle. He gave them food from the ship's synthesizers, food that actually tasted like food instead of cardboard. When they were ready to leave, he escorted them to the nearest neutral station. Word spread quickly. A ghost ship had appeared from nowhere and destroyed 4 Thorak warships in less than a minute. The Thorak hegemony demanded answers. The Galactic Council called the reports unverified rumors. But in the dark corners of space, where the forgotten and the abandoned gathered, people began to whisper. A human had found something ancient, something powerful, something that the galaxy had thrown away, and he was just getting started. Do-Hwan watched the Dandelion fly away from the station. Little Yuna waved at him through a window. He waved back. Then he turned to the stars. "Nari, are there any other distress signals?" 3. Captain. All from human vessels. Set course for the nearest one. The Dokebi turned and vanished into fold space. Behind it, the galaxy had changed forever. It just did not know it yet. The Thorak did not believe in ghosts. Supreme Commander Vark had heard the stories from the survivors. He had watched them shake and cry as they described the black ship. He had listened to their tales of weapons that erased reality. He thought they were cowards, weaklings who had been frightened by tricks and illusions. So he gathered 40 warships, the finest vessels in the Thoric fleet. Each one carried enough firepower to crack a planet in half. He would find this human and his mysterious ship, and he would prove that the Thoric feared nothing. They found the Dockaby 3 weeks later. It was floating in empty space, alone, like it was waiting for them. Vark smiled when he saw it. Yes, it was big. Yes, it looked strange. But it was just one ship against 40. The math was simple. All ships, he commanded. Open fire. 400 weapons fired at once. Beams of plasma, missiles with nuclear warheads, kinetic rounds moving at a fraction of light speed. The space around the Dockaby turned white with destruction. When the light faded, the ship was untouched. Vark's smile disappeared inside the Dockaby. Dohwan watched the attack on his screen. The shields had absorbed everything without effort. Nari had explained how they worked. They existed slightly outside of normal time. Weapons passed through the moment where the shields should be, but the shields were always a fraction of a second in the future. Nothing could hit them. Nari, can you disable their weapons without destroying the ships? It will require precision targeting. Difficult, but possible. Do it. I want them alive. The Dockaby moved. It should not have been able to move like that. 3 kilometers of metal does not dance. But the ship twisted and turned like a living thing, appearing and disappearing, striking from angles that physics said were impossible. Beams of light lanced out from hidden weapons. They did not aim for reactors or bridges. They hit weapon systems, engine cores, communication arrays. Each shot was perfect. Each target was disabled, not destroyed. Thorax ships went dark one by one. Their crews found themselves floating in space with no weapons, no engines, and no way to call for help. They could only watch as the ghost ship moved through their formation like a predator through a herd. It took 11 minutes. 40 warships reduced to 40 floating coffins. Varak's flagship was the last one hit. He stood on his bridge, surrounded by dead screens and silent officers, as the Dockaby pulled alongside. A message came through on the emergency channel. Supreme Commander Varak, this is Captain Kang Dowan. You have attacked human colonies. You have killed human civilians. You have enslaved human children. This ends now. Varak tried to respond with threats. He tried to sound brave, but his voice shook. The human colonies are under my protection, Dowan continued. Any species that attacks them will answer to me. This is not a threat. It is a fact. Tell your leaders. Tell everyone. The next time will not be so gentle. The Dockaby turned and vanished into fold space. It left 40 ships full of living Thoric, all of them with the same message burned into their minds. Humanity had a protector now. The news spread across the galaxy. Every species heard the story. One human, one ship. 40 Thoric warships humiliated without a single death. Some called it a miracle. Others called it a warning. People began looking for Dohan. Not enemies this time, but friends. The first to find him was Yunji. She was 28 years old, an engineer who had graduated top of her class. The Thoric had burned her colony. Her parents had died in the fire. Her brother had been taken as a slave. She had nothing left except her skills and her hatred. She found Dowan at a fuel station in neutral space. She walked up to him and said 4 words, "I want to help." Dowan looked at her. He saw the anger in her eyes. He saw the pain underneath it. He understood both. Can you fix a reactor that runs on principles human science has never seen? I can learn. She joined the crew that day. Tae-won came next. He had been a pilot in the Human Defense Force. The best pilot, some said. But he had disobeyed orders to save a civilian transport. The military had kicked him out. They said he was a problem. He said he had a conscience. "I heard you need someone to fly this thing," he told Do-hwan. "Nari does most of the flying. Then she needs a backup. Everyone needs a backup." He joined too. Subin arrived a month later. She was a doctor who had refused to leave her patients during a colony evacuation. The rescue ships had left without her. She had spent 3 months hiding in ruins, keeping wounded civilians alive with nothing but basic supplies and determination. When Do-won found her, she was treating a child with a broken arm using a splint made from sticks. "Your ship has a medical bay," she said. It was not a question. "Yes. Then you need a doctor." The crew grew. Refugees came first, then volunteers. 50 people, then 100, then 300. They were humans who had been told they were worthless. They were the forgotten, the abandoned, the thrown away. On the Dockaby, they found a home. Do-won stood on the bridge and looked at his crew. Engineers and pilots and doctors and soldiers. People who had lost everything and decided to fight for something. "Captain," Nari said, "we are receiving a transmission. The Thorak hegemony has formed an alliance with the Sketh Dominion and the Burning Choir. They are assembling a fleet." Do-won nodded slowly. He had expected this. "How many ships?" 500. Bora stepped up beside him. She had become his second in command over the past months. She had lost her home, but found a new purpose. "Can we fight 500 ships?" she asked. Do-hwan smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had nothing left to lose. "We won't have to." He had a plan. He had been preparing for this moment since he first sat in the captain's chair. The galaxy had thrown him away. It had thrown his ship away. It had thrown humanity away. Now they would show the galaxy how wrong it had been. The Korath Nebula looked the same as it had 2 years ago. Purple mist, floating wrecks, ships that had been forgotten by everyone. But now the Dockaby sat at its heart, waiting for what was coming. 500 warships entered the nebula. The Thorak hegemony had brought 200. The Sketh Dominion had sent 150. The Burning Choir had contributed 150 more. Together, they formed the largest fleet ever assembled against a single target. The 3 empires had agreed on only one thing. Humanity had to die. The Galactic Council had offered to mediate. They had sent a holographic representative to speak with Do-hwan. The representative was a tall creature made of light and diplomatic words. "Captain Kang," it said, "the Council is prepared to negotiate a peaceful solution. We can guarantee human safety if you surrender your vessel." Do-hwan looked at the hologram. He remembered all the times humanity had asked for help. All the times the Council had said they would consider the matter. All the children who had died while the galaxy considered. "Where was your mediation when human children burned?" he asked. "Where was your justice when our colonies screamed for help?" The Council has protocols. These things take time. Time that humans did not have. Do-hwan shook his head. "Humanity doesn't need your protection anymore. We protect ourselves. Leave." The hologram flickered and vanished. Do-hwan turned to his crew. Battle stations. The fleet closed in. 500 ships formed a sphere around the Dockaby, sealing off every escape route. Weapons charged. Targeting systems locked. The commanders of the 3 empires watched from their flagships, eager to see the ghost ship finally destroyed. Then Do-hwan did something unexpected. He broadcast a message on all frequencies. "Attention all forces. This is Captain Kang Do-hwan of the Dockaby. Before you attack, I want to tell you a story." The fleet commanders hesitated. What kind of madman tells stories in the middle of a battle? 10,000 years ago, a species faced extinction. They were powerful beyond imagination, but they were dying. So they built ships. Not weapons, but seeds. They filled these ships with their knowledge, their technology, their hope. Then they sent them into the void, waiting for a worthy species to find them. On the screens of every ship, images began to appear. Images that the Dakabi was transmitting. Ancient beings of light and shadow. Burning worlds. Seeds scattered across the galaxy. Every other species rejected these ships. The Valthari tried for 60 years. The Macroni spent fortunes. All of you looked at these vessels and decided they were worthless. So you threw them away. Dowan smiled. Humans do not throw things away. We find the broken, the forgotten, the abandoned. And we fix them. He pressed a button on his chair. Across the Korath Nebula, lights began to turn on. Ships that had floated dead for centuries started to move. Engines that had been cold for millennia began to burn. One by one, 100 vessels stirred from their ancient sleep. Dohan had spent the last year preparing this. Every time the Dakabi visited the nebula, he had planted pieces of himself in the other ships. Nari had helped, linking their systems together, waking them up bit by bit. The builders had not sent just one seed. They had sent thousands, and many of them had drifted to this graveyard, rejected by species who did not understand their worth. Now, they understood. The Dakabi was never meant to be alone, Dawan said. It was meant to find others like it. And now it has. Humanity has a fleet now. Would you still like to fight? The 500 ships of the Alliance faced 100 ancient vessels. Ships that held technology from a civilization that had been building wonders when these empires' ancestors were still swimming in oceans. Some of the commanders wanted to attack anyway. Pride demanded it. But pride did not win battles. Not against these odds. The battle began with the Thorak because they were too stubborn to retreat. 200 ships charged forward. The ancient fleet responded with weapons that bent light and broke time. Ships vanished. Ships burned. Ships tried to flee and found that space itself would not let them. The Sketh Dominion broke first. Their commander ordered a retreat, and 150 ships scattered into hyperspace. The burning choir followed moments later. Only the Thorak remained, dying by the dozens, until finally even their supreme commander accepted defeat. When it was over, the Alliance had lost 300 ships. Humanity had lost none. Dohan broadcast a final message. Not to the defeated fleet, but to the entire galaxy. Let this be a lesson. Humanity was small. Humanity was weak. Humanity was young. But you made a mistake when you decided we did not matter. We are not victims anymore. We are not begging for protection. We are the protection now. Any species that threatens the innocent will answer to us. Not because we are powerful, because we choose to be just. The Galactic Council called within the hour. They offered humanity full membership with unprecedented benefits. They offered trade deals and technology sharing and seats on every important committee. Dohan accepted some of it. He rejected the rest. Humanity would join the galactic community, but on their own terms. In the weeks that followed, the Dakabi became the heart of something new. They called it the Human Protectorate, and its mission was simple: protect those who could not protect themselves. Other species joined, ones who had also been overlooked and abandoned. Together, they built something the galaxy had never seen before. A year later, Dohan stood in his quarters, looking at a photograph. It showed a thin man in a patched jumpsuit, standing before an impossible ship, with no idea what the future held. Bora found him there. She had become more than his second-in-command over the months. She had become his partner, his family. The council wants to give you an award, she said. Hero of the Galaxy or something like that. Dowan laughed. I don't need awards. I just need that engine in Section 12 fixed. It's been making a funny noise. Mora smiled. Some things never change. Some things shouldn't. She took his hand. Together, they walked to the bridge. Little Yuna was there, now 7 years old, learning to read star charts from Nari. Yunji was arguing with Taiwan about engine modifications. Subin was checking crew health reports. A family. A strange one, built from broken pieces, but a family nonetheless. Captain, Nari said, we are receiving distress signals. 17 of them. Various species. Various problems. Dowan sat in his chair. The chair that had waited 10,000 years for him. The chair that had changed his life and the galaxy forever. Pick the closest one, he said. Let's go to work. The Dakebi turned toward the stars. Behind it, a fleet of ancient ships followed. Ahead, a universe full of people who needed help. Some things the galaxy throws away. Humans find them and make them magnificent. And they never, ever stop.